Hi everyone, I'm Harold Muliati.
And I'm Geoff Blanchard, and this is Tech Down Over. Good morning or good
morning,
afternoon.
everyone.
I'll tell you, every time I see that intro, no matter how many times I see it, I just have to have a giggle about that. And when I first saw it, I thought it was funny just seeing Rick surfing and me surfing. But then when I noticed you'd put a camera in Rick's hand and I had a microphone in mine, it just made it even more funnier.
Yeah, and it's hard to see unless you're viewing it full screen, I guess, but I've also got it so that it's, yours and Rick's arms are kind of like wiggling around a little bit, and then the surfboards are kind of wiggling. And I put in some like particle effects to try to get it to look like the two figures fit in with the waves as well. It's a fun project.
That's one of the things I probably wanted to talk about today was a bit more on video editing, because it always fascinates me at the complexity of how people have to do things, but how easy they tend to do it these days. Like I saw the other week, you did I think, is it called EdgeAnimate? Is it, or is it called the Adobe one? What's it called? Animate?
Oh yes, Adobe CharacterAnimator.
CharacterAnimator, and I thought the way you animated a character with Rick just saying something, and I know you can go in there and move the arms and do all things like that, but I was just thinking, 10 years ago that would be the realm of these multi-million-dollar studios to do something like that. Whereas now we can do that sort of thing by ourselves, and it just really amazes me on how that happens. With that one though, Harold, does it have to be, was that within, because I'm not quite understanding how that works, does that go into After Effects to do that, or is that part of After Effects, or is it a freestanding
they started it as a part of After Effects, but it comes with After Effects, but now it's sort of a separate program. It's actually, I didn't quite use it in the way that it's sort of supposed to be used, I suppose. Because their intent, I guess, was to have it so that people can have their webcam hooked up, and then it will real time actually animate the character as people are talking. But I actually took a pre-recorded video, which I'll show the clip in a second. I took the pre-recorded video and went into After Effects and face tracked it, and then put that data into the CharacterAnimator. Yeah,
now, one thing I'm going to have to try with that, like you said, so if I can hook up my camera to it, I can get a live stream. Is that what you say? A live view and me moving on the screen? Is that what you're saying with that?
Yeah, that's sort of what it's built for, actually. And it does that. It does it at a sort of low frame rate. I think it does it at 12 FPS by default, but for animation, it doesn't look too bad. I did this test at 12 FPS, so I'll just run that now.
And this is Tech Down Over. Today, I'm being shot by the Canon 5 DSR. This isn't the Canon 5 DSR. That one is. But this looks exactly the same. It is the 7D Mark II. What does that mean? That these cameras are almost exactly alike in their bodies. When you buy a camera and you already know it, it makes life easy. I took that out of the box and thought,
like, have two cameras and have do a show with animated characters.
I'm not sure how well it would do with multiple characters. I'm not sure if it's set up to be able to do multiple characters. I guess if you had multiple machines, like our setup for doing Skype, and well, now we're using a Zoom for our VoIP, then yeah, if you had multiple machines with the program installed, you could probably do it pretty easily. But I'm not sure about having multiple characters going on the same machine. It is pretty resource intensive too, so that might be another thing that would bottleneck it.
I'm quite surprised that we haven't seen a few more YouTube channels coming up with people doing things as an animated character, because it's a bit of anonymity for people. You know, they don't mind it, but then they can get in front of the camera without actually getting in front of the camera. So they could say something about it, just be a little teddy bear and not feel half as conscious about them being in front of a camera.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to see if I can do something like that.
There are a good number of animation suites now, I think, that do this sort of thing. Like Rick was telling me about one called Crazy Talk, which I haven't used yet. And when it was first released, it was mainly for doing the 2D characters, sort of like CharacterAnimator does. But actually now it has a lot more functionality for 3D characters, which is kind of interesting. So I'm not.
So, is that a free one, or is it? I don't think it would be a free.
That one's not a free one. That one is a paid one, but that's one of the more common ones I've seen.
Because that's the thing with as well, when you're doing the video editing, it's also the cost of the software that you use. And when I sort of started in it, it was. I just don't know how to explain the pricing really, because it used to be quite expensive to buy an editing package. But not only that, you'd only be in it with 6 months to 12 months, and then they'd update it. And like everything, like every automobiles and software, they always update things and put one thing that you just have to have. And really, the old ones you probably could put up with it, but they just do one particular thing that does it really well, and then you have to update. And then came along Adobe with their Creative Cloud membership.
Yeah.
That certainly does tie you into the ecosystem of Adobe, because if you're wanting to animate something, you'll say, well, okay, if I was to get a Premiere on a monthly subscription, it'll probably cost you, what's it, $25, $30 odd or something for Premiere. But if you pay $60, I think it is, for don't know what it is in your area. I think, what is it? Yeah, I think it's about $60 for you for the Creative Cloud. You get Premiere Pro, you get everything in there.
Yeah, you get all of their main
Animator, the Audition, you get InDesign, and even just them. It's just, you'd be up for a fortune if you paid them at say $30 odd a month. But the great thing with that, yes, you are paying, what's it, about $600 a year or something for your software, but at least you're getting the latest. So if they bring out this latest thing, and they're quite good, because I was afraid when they started this subscription model that you just wouldn't get much. It would be the same old thing year in, year out, but they keep releasing a lot of new things. And I think that's just make sure people are keeping involved. But I remember if you had to buy it by yourself, you'd be up for, $2,500 for all these things. Then 6 months later, another upgrade would be $500. So it's quite a good way to do it in a way. But then I've been looking lately at the other stuff I've got, and like I've got the Final Cut Pro on the Mac side.
Yeah,
and that cost $299. But that was, how long have I had that? Probably about 6 years ago, I think I bought it.
Yeah.
And they've been updating that, but there hasn't been a new version I've had to pay for yet.
Mm-hmm.
So really, and that does quite a lot of things for your editing, because everything you would want to do. But I still like the Premiere sometimes. But I was just reminded the other day, somebody said, oh, I want a great editing package, but I don't want to spend any money on it. And I thought, oh, well, if he was on the Mac, you have the iMovie, which is quite good. And then I remembered another package I've been looking at and using was DaVinci Resolve, because you can get that as a free version. And I was really just amazed at what you can get out of DaVinci Resolve.
What is their
software? What
is their free version? Is it like a trial period thing, or is it like a shareware? Oh, cool.
It's fully operational video editing package.
Wow.
And I don't know if you've ever used DaVinci Resolve. They put it in about 4 areas. You've got it into the the content, a content button where you click that for getting in your content in there. Another button for your editing, so it changes all the things to the editing window. And then you've got another color correction, and then you've got an output window. So it makes it quite easy to figure out in that flow, and it's in that flow. You get your content, you edit it, you fix up the color, and then you publish it out. And it's got all the latest things, to all the buttons to just send it out to YouTube like all the other ones. And the thing is, if you go into that and start doing, say for instance, I don't know how you would do it, but I don't know if you animate, did something that you get really high-end editing effects and all that. It gets to that stage where it'll say, if you want to do this, you need to have the paid version.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never got to that stage, and it's most people, all they want in an editing package is being able to cut, put a transition in here and there.
Yeah.
But you don't really, you'll see a lot of people go overboard in video editing, that you'll see them swipe and fly screens across, screw them up just because they can. But what I tend to do in mine, I tend to just cut to the scene. You only use a transition if it means something to me. So, like if you do a swipe, you do it because the next scene leads you. Like if you do a swipe, what I would do a swipe for is if you timed it to walk with a person so they drag the screen across with them.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the time I'd use that. You don't just do that for the sake of it. And it's so at DaVinci Resolve has so much going for it, and I think, and the full end video editors, when they get involved into it, then that's where they obviously start making the money on, because they'd have to have quite a bit more than just the program to do it. But I don't know how to really do it, put a program out like that does so much and not charge anything for it. I would have thought at least you'd think, say 150 or something, you buy the base one, but it's a damn good option now, because I think Windows used to have the video. Was the Windows video editor called?
Oh, it was called Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah, and then they took that out, didn't they?
Yeah.
The cat.
I used that quite a lot.
And so now, if as I said, I just forgot about that, the DaVinci Resolve, and said to somebody else the other day, go and get that, because it's I'm sure you'll never be wanting for that, and you could use the Premiere Pro if you wanted to, but they said the learning curve for the Premiere Pro would probably be a little bit more, plus you have to get a membership for that. But even then, if you want the full blown thing in that, DaVinci Resolve is a really great way to get your stick your toes in the water, as it were, into video editing, because you can certainly see whether you're going to like it or not, because it does keyframes and everything in there that most people would ever want to do on that. But quite impressed. I don't know if you've got, but I know Rick put me onto the DaVinci Resolve, but there's just so many, it's such a good thing just for no dollars involved.
Yeah, well, yeah, I haven't actually used DaVinci Resolve, and I didn't know that they had a free version that wasn't timed or anything like that, like most companies do. So I'll definitely put in the description a link to that so people can check it out. And the other thing with the Creative Cloud, Adobe's Creative Cloud, is that there is a thing about, they're saying before they would come out with a version every few years, and then people would have to buy the new version. But I've been using at home. I've been using their CS6 Creative Suite, and I've been using that for 6 years, and it does pretty much everything I want it to do. So, I mean, it's still good, and I haven't had to pay yearly for it. I don't remember how much it was when I got it, but yeah, it's certainly less than however many years of CC.
Well, that's exactly the thing. But the thing you've got to do is get the package and not look at the internet, and don't look at anything with this great new feature.
Yeah.
And things on there, because there's nearly always, and I think the big things like with Photoshop and things like that, it's where you can remove items from the frame, and now they've got it just to be so much better and so easy. They're the sort of things people want that make it easier. But like you said, it's usually you can still do the same thing, but you just might have to work a little bit harder to do it. But it's like everything, I suppose. It's like myself and Rick, when we look at cameras, we see a lovely camera, and it does great quality, and they always do something that you have to have. Whereas like this camera I'm working on now, and I still use that. It's a Panasonic HD video camera, and it's getting to be about 6 years old. But really, it still does a great job to a lot of the ones that you can buy today. And I've said before, this one here, at least, I can go out in broad daylight with the sun shining. It's got a little LCD screen that flips out. I can actually see that in the sunlight.
Yeah.
But the more modern cameras, they're just starting to say, oh, you can nearly see that in bright sunlight, nearly. And I was quite shocked when I bought my Canon video camera years later and thought this was a much better camera than this Panasonic. And then found out I can't see it in the daylight, the LCD, whereas my cheaper little camera that was years old, I still can. And I thought, you go get the more modern one, but you're still very, very far behind on some other things. And
yeah,
I thought,
it's like they are withholding features. You know, they want to keep incrementally releasing things, so it's sort of like death by 1,000 cuts for your wallet.
And that's the thing, is really, I think, where sometimes some of these, like the GH5 and the Sony camera, the G9, the Panasonic, isn't it? Not the G8, that's just a G9.
G9, yeah.
Why they do so well is because they've got the viewfinder, electronic viewfinder, but you can put it up to the eye, and so you can see everything quite clearly through that. Whereas, you know, that's where mobile phones, they do a great quality, but you just can't see a damn thing you're doing. Like I've tried with the iPhone. I'll do this, and you're out, and I just can't see a damn thing on the screen. So you just hope that you've got it framed right, and that, whereas these other cameras where you can look through the electronic viewfinder and you can actually see what the quality of the filming you're putting out. So as we're saying this, Rick will be out there with the G9 and taking pictures. Maybe he's taking a picture of us on the screen now. So we're smart.
He could be. But yeah, he's in beautiful Hawaii, and he's taking pictures with his G9, which, you know, I guess he'll bring some back for us to probably show off on the next episode. You know, I'm not sure if Rick was going to test that out, but there's one feature that I thought was pretty cool. I'm not sure if the previous ones in the series had it, but the G9 has a focus stacking, so it'll take a whole bunch of pictures at once at different focal lengths, and so that way it sort of saves it as this thing where you can go into it in play mode and select the spot that you want to focus on, and it'll go to that. You know, it takes like, I don't know, 20 shots or something like that, and then you can have it just go to the focus focal plane that you want it to. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's getting me with some of these new cameras, like the Sonys as well, is the focusing capabilities. Because I was just watching a YouTube the other day, or yesterday, and they was doing some video, and they said, you know how it nearly all the time you're focusing, and then the person filming can usually tell you focused on the nose or the cheek, and top head of the head. People don't usually know, but you notice that yourself, whereas these later ones, they focus on the eye and keep everything perfect. It's that eye detection, and you just don't realize it. And then when somebody says that, you just realize, that's right. Whenever I take pictures, it's just pick that part on the autofocus. And I know it's sort of like sacrilege saying using your autofocus, but let's face it, most of us, well, when you're getting over the 40, your eyes don't see things as accurately as you think they are. And so you try to do the manual focus, but it's just that slightly different out. And I saw a video the other day where Rick's got the Sony the A7R Mark III, hasn't he? He's got
A7R3, yeah.
And that one compared to the A7 III, one of the big criticisms, one of the differences, and it's much cheaper, the A7 III, was that it's got the LCD viewfinder in there is less. I think it's got 1 million dots less or something than the R3. But for most people, won't notice a difference. But they're saying if you're doing the manual focus, when you're doing the focus pull, you zoom in to get the focus, It's just that different out that you can get that slight off focus thing, whereas that other one with the other EVF, it's just got that finer detail. You seem to get it every time when you are doing the manual focus. But that's another thing that encouraged me to think about the A7 III, because one of the things I want is to use it. I don't mind a full autofocus because I think I miss more when I do it manually than I do on auto. And most of the times if I do a manual thing, it's because something's still there. That's fine. But when I want autofocus, it's those things on the fly that you haven't got time to focus in on. Like if you're at one of the theme pack filming a roller coaster, quite I've done manual focus, and all I do is have a perfect in focus shot of the track, not the things going past it, because it picked up on that. Whereas when you do it manually, because you've got to anticipate where they're going to come. Whereas autofocus for that would be really great. Well, that's it. If it's on the Sony, I think hopefully the Panasonic seems to be a little bit slower. But from what I see with the Panasonic, it's more so when people are doing this, in front of the camera and just keep jumping up and down and moving forward and back. But it seems to be when there's somebody behind their camera squeezing the trigger, it doesn't seem to have any problem with focusing.
Yeah, so it's mostly the tracking, I guess, because single, I don't think it really has any problem with just autofocus single. And with manual focus, I was just thinking, usually what I use manual focus for is I actually use the autofocus to get something, and then I just don't, I don't want it to move or anything, so then I just switch to manual. I think my eyes are just not good enough to actually dial in manual focus, because I'm looking at the screen and I can't tell whether the thing's in focus or not.
It's a bit like when you're doing when you like using InDesign to do a print job where you're printing things out. You look at the screen and you say, yes, I want this red, blue, green, and all that there. It's beautiful and lovely. And then if you send it to a proper printer, when you look at by eye and it gets back to you, that blue wasn't really blue.
Yeah.
And that sort of more of a pinky color, because depending on the monitor, the way it's calibrated, and depending on your eyes, people see it differently. So you've got to make sure you dial in just the particular color that it is, because no matter what it looks like on the screen, it's quite different. And the same thing with the focus, you think it's there, but it's just not that way. That autofocus really helps you do the push. It pulls it in, and it's done that on there. I'm still tossing up with which new camera, because I saw again yesterday somebody doing the A7 III as opposed to the GH5 still. And that GH5 still, the quality is just so damn good. I just don't know which way to go, because there's fors and against on both of them. And like they said, yes, the Sony is the full frame and the other one's a micro 4/3, but it's still got a lot going for it, that GH5. So
and that's the thing with, well, not just cameras, but any sort of product that gets that sort of, there's this wave of internet hype that happens where, something comes out and, maybe right now the A7 III has more praise than the GH5 because it's sort of riding this wave and now it's at the top and, people are really loving all the stuff about it. But then I think, after it kind of, the wave goes up, then it might come down and then people will be, but wait, there's this problem and there's this problem. So that's why, I mean, myself, I usually just wait till something's been out for a while to get people sort of, get people's opinions sort of uncolored by, the fact that it's new and it's the newest and shiniest sort of thing. Oh, and
I do that all the time as well, but like I did same with the GH5. But as soon as I've waited and got all the opinions, and I've settled on it, the moment I've sort of think I've do, somebody brings out, like Sony, brings out something that makes me stat all over again. It's like, I was settled, and then, because if you get it really straight away, at least you'll have 6 to 12 months to do it before something else happens. But if you wait, there's always going to be something else round the corner that takes you away from what you were thinking in the first place.
I feel like they've got to have people working full time to figure out what the perfect delay between releases is, so that it will do that to people, so that they'll always be, oh, there's the new one. But Oh, speaking of internet hype and the internet, we actually just got our social media comments working for our shows, and let me just show. I think my sister just commented on the video. Here's her comment. She asked, "Does face tracking work on animals too?" And that's actually kind of an interesting question because, speaking of the G9, the one feature I noticed on it, while Rick and I were kind of going through the features on it, I noticed that. Well, so on the GH5, it has face tracking profiles where you can track someone's face, and then it'll build a profile, and you'll be able to track that person preferentially over other people. And the GH9, I keep calling it the GH9. The G9 has a feature that allows you to face track animals. I think it's dogs specifically, but I'm not sure. But anyways, you can build a face tracking profile for a dog, which I thought was kind of cool.
Well, I don't know if there was somebody, there was a music film clip from years back now, I forget how long ago, but I can't even remember the name of the group or what it was, but they were all monkeys, and they put the band members, and they were all playing the guitars, but they all had their faces on these monkeys.
Yeah, that was Basement Jacks. I remember. Yeah, or at least they did a video like that. That was early 2000s.
Yeah, I know it was quite a while back now, because I said 18 years ago, but it was because I know it was quite some years ago now, and that would have been really revolutionary for the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's still pretty cool. I guess probably a lot more accessible and easy to do nowadays, but it's still interesting.
Yes, definitely. So that's our next project, Harold. We've got to do 2 animated characters doing a show with the funny voices on it. So
yeah,
that would be fun to do, to see how it would turn out, and see, because I remember when I first got onto the internet for looking at things, got into e-learning projects, I looked up, I wanted a tutorial on Captivate, and the first video I saw was Rick's, and they were saying about they was going to start up this new show, and then they did a little animated one to introduce the E-Learn chat. It was, E-Learn chat. That's what they did, a little animated thing, and I thought, gee, that was quite good, and that's what started me off thinking about all these different types of things. But
yeah, that was the one with Rick and Terrence, right? There were
Terrence Ring, yes.
There were little was it puppies or perhaps teddy bears? I don't quite remember, but yeah, they were.
What reminded me, because we're like South Park characters.
Yeah.
You know how South Park characters denote Canadians with flippy mouths? That's how they were. The characters where the whole head sort of moves up, I think it was. That's what it was. But I thought that was quite good for the intro. But that was, I think, the first intro into a weekly video podcast rather than just an audio podcast or single separate videos and that. But we've come a long way since then, and also not just the technology, but like being able to stream this to Facebook, and even to be when you can do on YouTube, because before you used to have a platform to be able to stream it to, because you couldn't do it on Facebook or YouTube for many years. So now I think we're very fortunate that we can do this. You can get them. Everybody can have their little go at saying what they think out there. And I don't know about you, but with so many, I've spent so many times looking at people having their own opinions. I much prefer that than Panasonic telling me and Sony telling me.
Yeah.
Really, look, these days, you don't see much of Panasonic and Sony telling you how good their cameras are, which is smart. They just take all the people to events, or just give the cameras and say, well, you do it. Because there's no point, nobody can hide things these days. I can't say this is the greatest thing out and have all these advertising and it not be true, because there's too many people. And even those people they take to the events, I think they still have to give their honest opinions, because they're not going to be swayed, because they would be crucified by millions of their viewers, because people will get it themselves and will know it's not right.
And what will happen is online, you know, if you start saying stuff about your products that's not true online, then what will happen is there will be videos of other people, you know, refuting it, and those will end up more popular than your own ads. So, you know, people will be searching for your stuff and they'll be coming up with, you know, such and such company lied about this.
And the thing is, though, I take with everything that you see online, everybody's got their own slant on it. And just because I might like a particular product and the way it works for what I do, somebody who might be higher end thinks it's a load of rubbish, but that's fine. And that's a great thing with all the reviews. You get the true opinions of it. And quite frankly, if I'm looking for a product, and if I look online, and if I can't see any people who if there's nobody who doesn't like it, it can't be true. There's got to be no matter that. It'll always be somebody that it doesn't suit, and that's the way life is. Like if you're looking at product reviews and everybody's 100% like it, well, you know somebody's fudging the figures there, because it's just not possible. There's got to be, when people buy things, it can be the best thing, but they've got a faulty one, so they'll be upset. And as it goes, people tend to do more comments if they've had a bad experience. I'm sure if you had 10 cameras out there and 3 were bad, you'd get 3 reviews and maybe 1 good one from all the rest were good. But most of the other people don't bother to say how great things are. So you've just got to take it,
exactly,
with and find people you trust. Like I have out there, all the different people I watch all the time. You find about 2 or 3 people that you really trust on there, that you like and you like what they do with the videoing and the photography, and you just go with what they do, because they've had to spend the time and the money to get involved and do these reviews, and not that easy to do. I think they do a damn good job putting these things together. So my hand goes up to say good job for all the reviews they do give us. It looks like we're nearly out of time as well, Harold.
Yeah, we're just about at the end of our time. And well, on that note, keep in mind, everyone, all of our opinions on equipment that we're talking about, they're just, well, I wouldn't say unbiased, but we're not getting any, we're not getting anything from the companies that make these things. We own the equipment. We're just talking about what we like to talk about and the gear we like to use.
Because as it said, nobody's ever sent me a damn thing to have a play with. Everything I need to buy. And plus, a lot of people say, why don't you rent the damn thing? But if you rent them for a month or 2 and you really do like it, you've probably spent $1,000 something you put it on the camera, so you think it's a toss-up sometime. Anyway,
yeah,
that's
yeah, well, some food for thought.
Yes.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us on Tech Down Over this week, and we'll see you next time when we'll probably have a nice discussion about the GH9 after Rick gets his photos from Hawaii. So we're quite excited to see those, and hopefully.
And thank you to Sarah for being in the chat room and giving us a comment to talk about. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a lot more comments in the future, and we'll be able to kind of, it's fun to have that audience participation. Anyways, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.